You hear the music. Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Robinson, and welcome to another exciting edition of the League Wraparound. This is the program that gets you caught up on anything and everything happening around the NFL. Coming up on this edition of the program, we'll preview Week 17's most important games. Plus, we have your Week 17 game picks and so much more. And I'd just like to say on behalf of myself and from my family to you and yours, I'd like to wish you a very Merry Christmas. All right, as always, I like to start off with my top three storylines. I like to start off with my first storyline, and that's Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels was a sensation during his 2 years at LSU, especially his last year with the Fighting Tigers. He would win the Heisman Trophy. And you saw glimpses of that greatness at LSU. And you could see a little bit of it during his short amount of time at Arizona State. But Jayden, since he's been the quarterback of the Washington Commanders, he has been so phenomenal and so unstoppable. And we saw Jayden continue to stake his claim to win this year's Offensive Rookie of the Year. Jayden, along with the Washington Commanders, had a thrilling game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts, the quarterback for the Eagles, went down in the first quarter with a concussion. Kenny Pickett, decent job, but man, you got to give credit where credit is due. Jayden Daniels, he's been balling all season long, and certainly he gave us another exciting moment this season. Jayden not only getting it done with his arm, but also getting it done with his legs as well. Throws the game-winning touchdown pass to wide receiver Jamison Crowder to give the Commanders a 36-33 win. Jayden Daniels clearly, after that game against the Eagles, he clearly set himself apart from Bo Nix. Bo Nix has had a solid year and an effective year, but Jayden Daniels is the clear winner to win this year's Offensive Rookie of the Year. He has just been sensational, including the Hail Mary game with the Commanders beating the Chicago Bears. The future is bright. Jayden Daniels is a star, and he's on the verge of becoming a superstar, if not next year, in the next 2 years. The Commanders have hit a gold mine with a quarterback like Jayden Daniels, and the future is definitely bright. And also, other players have been beneficiaries of Jayden Daniels. Terry McLaurin, he has been unstoppable this year. Zach Ertz has found the fountain of youth in Washington. Also, Brian Robinson Jr. has played at a high level. You've seen quality players like De'Ami Brown and Noah Brown make key plays. Also, Christian McCaffrey's little brother, Luke McCaffrey, Olamide Zaccheaus, just to name a few. Philadelphia may be the top dog right now in the NFC East, but at least for the next 5 to 10 years, the Washington Commanders are going to have something to say about that. And with Jayden Daniels as the team's quarterback, there are going to be many more moments that are going to be made in that franchise history. I promise you that. My next storyline is going to be Michael Penix Jr. So the Atlanta Falcons made the decision early in the week that they were going to bench quarterback Kirk Cousins, and then they plan to release him in March. So the Michael Penix Jr. era began last week with the Falcons beating the New York Giants 34-7. Penix in his debut was outstanding. Completed 18 out of 27 passes for 202 yards. And he had an interception. But it wasn't his fault, though. But we saw the greatness of Michael Penix Jr. despite battling injuries throughout his career in college football at the University of Indiana. And then what we saw at the University of Washington, the last 2 years he was there, and especially the year that the Huskies went to the national championship. Man, we knew Michael Penix Jr. would be something in the National Football League. And the Falcons took that next step in making Penix Jr. the starting quarterback. A lot was invested in Kirk Cousins. The first half of the year, Kirk was doing great things for the Falcons, but Lately, it seems as though he had been regressing, and Raheem Morris and the Falcons coaching staff decided to make the change and make Michael Penix Jr. the starting quarterback. I think this is going to be the beginning of something special. I mentioned what Jaden Daniels is currently doing in Washington, and this could be similar to what Jaden Daniels is doing in Washington. Michael Penix Jr. has that opportunity to do the same thing for the Atlanta Falcons. We saw glimpses of it when Michael Vick was the quarterback during his time with the Falcons, and Michael Penix Jr. has the potential to make that happen. And for my last storyline is going to be Sam Darnold. We talk about MVP candidates such as Saquon Barkley, Josh Allen, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, but you've got to include Sam Darnold in there. Sam Darnold has been a journeyman, 3 seasons with the New York Jets, 2 seasons with the Carolina Panthers, 1 year with the San Francisco 49ers. And in his first year with the Minnesota Vikings, man, he has played at such a high level. Now, I mentioned 2 quarterbacks earlier, Jaden Daniels and Michael Penix Jr. Those 2 quarterbacks are dual-threat quarterbacks. Sam Darnold, I don't consider him to be a dual-threat quarterback, but Sam Darnold has the ability to move in the pocket when necessary. But, man, when he's given time, when his offensive line gives him time to throw the ball, he's got one of the best arms out there. He hit the ball right on the money, and he makes it available for receivers such as Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison to make plays. The tight end, T.J. Hawkinson, he makes plays as well. And then you've got Aaron Jones that has benefited from Sam Darnold this year. The Minnesota Vikings would be crazy not to give Sam Darnold at least a 2, maybe 3-year contract. They have to do this. I think if J.J. McCarthy sits another year, maybe 2 more years, it would be beneficial for McCarthy. Sam Darnold, I don't think this is a 1-year situation. I think Sam Darnold can get it done for the Vikings for at least the next 2 to 3 years. I think this would be outstanding. I think this would be fun. It's already been fun this year for the Minnesota Vikings. And, man, we talk about Detroit, we talk about Green Bay, we talk about Philadelphia, but Minnesota seems to be kind of lost in the shuffle during this year. They have an opportunity to possibly maybe be the top seed, or maybe they could jump, maybe get a higher playoff seed. Who knows what could happen? But, man, Sam Darnold definitely deserves some strong consideration as a strong candidate for this year's league MVP. He's been playing at such a high level this year, and I think the Vikings really need to at least bring him back give him a 2-year, maybe 3-year deal. I think it would definitely be beneficial, not just for him, but I think it would be beneficial for J.J. McCarthy, so he can continue to get the rehab that he needs to come back from that knee injury that he had during the preseason. All right, that takes care of my top 3 storylines, and now it's time to preview Week 17's most important games in the NFL. Thursday Night Football, we have the Seattle Seahawks going up against the Chicago Bears. So let's start with the Bears for a moment. Tough week for them, losing, being embarrassed at home by the Detroit Lions. They had no answers for Jared Goff in that Lions offense. It was just one trick play after another, and they just couldn't keep up. And as for the Seattle Seahawks, disappointing loss to the Minnesota Vikings. Geno Smith throws an interception in the closing moments of the game. And, man, the Seahawks, they're still in the playoff hunt, but they're going to have to win out the rest of the way. And it has to start with this game against the Chicago Bears. So Seattle headed to the Windy City. They're going to have it on their mind. They're going to have all of their ducks in a row. They're going to be ready to play. Geno Smith, he's got to come out better. Kenneth Walker, also Zach Charbonnet. The running game's got to be better too. DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett, also Jackson Smith and Jigba. They're going to have to play well as well because they're going to have to win out because they're still in the playoff hunt, but those playoff hopes are slowly dashing away. And again, they needed to win that game last week against the Vikings, and they failed to do so. But they've got a chance at Soldier Field, Chicago, and the Bears are just fighting, just playing for respect. They're just playing for pride. They're just trying to see and just evaluate what they have. It's pretty clear to see that Caleb Williams is going to be their franchise quarterback. So we've got the Seattle Seahawks going up against the Chicago Bears on Thursday Night Football. We have the Denver Broncos going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. So for the Broncos, disappointing loss to the Los Angeles Chargers last week. Bo Nix started off strong in the first half of that game, but Bo, along with the Broncos offense, they got flat. They got cold, and the Chargers offense, Justin Herbert and company, they were able to take control of the game in the second half, and the Chargers were able to win. So the Broncos are going to be going to one of the toughest places to play in the NFL, and that's in Cincinnati, as they take on the Bengals. For Cincinnati, big win over their in-state rival, Cleveland Browns. I tell you one thing, if the Cincinnati Bengals had a much better record, Joe Burrow would be an MVP candidate. Burrow has put up some monster numbers this year. It's just a shame that his team is under 500. Jamar Chase has played at a high level this year, but the Bengals are still in the hunt, and this is a win that they desperately need to stay alive. And the Broncos need to win this game to stay alive as well. Remember, they currently have one of the wild card spots as well, but things could change at the drop of a hat. You just never know in the NFL. So this should be a good game. I think it should be a really great game with the Broncos and the Bengals. Particularly, we've got Bo Nix going up against Joe Burrow. We have the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. So for the Cowboys, win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last Sunday night. Cooper Rush played an effective game. CeeDee Lamb has really been the most consistent player on that team during this year. The defense, Deron Bland, making a key play to seal the deal for the Cowboys in that win over the Buccaneers. Michael Parsons got a sack. Chauncey Golston was one of the ones that got a sack in this contest as well. And so Dallas has been on a roll as of late. They've been on a winning streak, and they look to continue that winning streak to go to a tough place at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. The Eagles are angry, they're ticked off, and they're hungry, not just for cheesesteaks and hoagies. They're hungry for a win. Jalen Hurts suffered a concussion in the first quarter of the game against the Commanders. Kenny Pickett comes into the game. He was decent. He did his job. Saquon Barkley rushed for over 150 yards, but Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders just came in and pulled off a great come-from-behind victory. So the Eagles have it on their mind as they return to Philadelphia to take on their dreaded rival for decades, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. We have the Minnesota Vikings going up against the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay had a dominating performance over the New Orleans Saints on Monday night. Josh Jacobs he played like a man on a mission. Jordan Love made key plays when necessary. Jaden Reed has become a very underrated wide receiver in the league. I really like the tight end Tucker Kraft. Tucker has been really good this year for the Packers. As for the Minnesota Vikings, Minnesota's been awesome this year. Sam Darnold, I feel, should be an MVP candidate. He's been through a lot in his still very young NFL career. And in his first year with the Vikings, he has just been simply unstoppable. Justin Jefferson doing what Justin Jefferson does best. Make great plays and get touchdowns. Also, Jordan Addison has been a nice number 2 to the Minnesota Vikings. He's been a nice number 2 receiver, a nice partner to Justin Jefferson. T.J. Hockenson has played well this year since coming back from his injury. Aaron Jones has been great in his first season with the Minnesota Vikings. So there's a lot at stake in this game. There's possibility of the NFC North division. Also, playoff spots could be moved. There could be a lot of moving parts, a lot of switching around in terms of playoff spots. One team could go a little bit higher. One team could drop in terms of the wild card spots. So this should be a fun game. It's always fun for decades when the Packers and the Vikings always meet up. But Green Bay and Minnesota, this should be a fun one. Sunday Night Football, the Atlanta Falcons take on the Washington Commanders. So for the Commanders, they are riding at an extreme high right now. Jaden Daniels throws the game-winning touchdown pass to wide receiver Jamison Crowder, and he played one heck of a game. He had 5 touchdown passes in this contest. And while the Commanders are riding a major high, the Atlanta Falcons are also riding a major high as well. A new era begins in Atlanta. Kirk Cousins benched. The Michael Penix Jr. era begins. And certainly the Falcons look great, beating the New York Giants 34-7. Michael Penix Jr. got it done not just with his arm, but with his legs as well. And certainly the Falcons could have the opportunity to, Michael Penix Jr. definitely has the opportunity to do what Jaden Daniels has done in Washington thus far. Michael Penix Jr. has the opportunity to do the same for the Atlanta Falcons. There is a lot at stake in this game. The Commanders have an opportunity to maybe move up a couple of playoff spots, and the Falcons, they have an opportunity to win the NFC South. If not in this game, they have the possibility of doing it in the next game in Week 18. But there's so much at stake in this game, and certainly Falcons, Commanders, Sunday Night Football, I think this could be one for the ages. Monday Night Football, the Detroit Lions go up against the San Francisco 49ers. So for Detroit, they embarrassed and took care of their business beating the Chicago Bears. It was one trick play after another, and the Lions were very successful. For the 49ers, their playoff hopes are over with. Losing to the Miami Dolphins, they've been eliminated from playoff contention. So in this game, we have a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game. The 49ers are playing for pride, and they're playing for respect. With the Detroit Lions, they're playing for the possibility of maybe having the number 1 seed and maybe having home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Jared Goff and company, they've got a lot of injuries, but one thing is for sure, Detroit is going to bring it offensively. And as for the 49ers, this, as I stated earlier, this is just a matter of pride and respect. Brock Purdy, next year will be the final year of his rookie contract. We'll see how it all plays out. Will the 49ers give him the contract extension before the year is up? Who knows? But in the meantime, this is a game where the 49ers are going to play for pride and respect. And Monday Night Football will be the Detroit Lions versus the San Francisco 49ers. All right, now it's time for my game of the week. My game of the week is going to be the Atlanta Falcons versus the Washington Commanders. The 2024 NFL Draft, you could say, was the draft of quarterbacks, specifically in the first round. The number 1 overall pick went to the Chicago Bears. They selected Caleb Williams. The number 3 overall pick, the New England Patriots, they wound up drafting Drake May. The 10th overall pick, the Minnesota Vikings, they drafted J.J. McCarthy. The 12th overall pick belonged to the Denver Broncos. They drafted Bo Nix. And then we had 2 gentlemen that was also drafted in the first round. The 8th overall pick went to the Atlanta Falcons. they drafted Michael Penix Jr. And the second overall pick belonged to the Washington Commanders. They drafted Jayden Daniels. What Jayden Daniels has done since he's been the starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders has been phenomenal. We've seen great plays throwing the ball. We've seen great plays running the ball. We've seen fourth quarter comebacks, game-winning touchdown drives, and we've seen Hail Marys. Jayden Daniels has been all of that and then some thus far for the Washington Commanders, and he's clearly the favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Michael Penix Jr. had his first career NFL start against the New York Giants. He was very successful. So while the Atlanta Falcons are hoping that Michael Penix Jr. can do the same for that franchise, how Jayden Daniels has done for the Washington Commanders, the Falcons are hoping to copy that success that Daniels has had in Washington. And there's so much at stake in this game. You've got two quarterbacks drafted in a part of the same draft class, and both quarterbacks, both dual threat quarterbacks, both quarterbacks very dynamic in their own way. They're just simply phenomenal. And while Falcons fans have something to definitely be proud of, the last several years they've had their changes at the quarterback position with Marcus Mariota. Also, they had a brief stint with Desmond Ridder. I believe Taylor Heineke had a stint as the Falcons quarterback. And it seems as though Falcons fans, they saw it with Kirk Cousins the first half of the year, but then his play started regressing. But now Falcons fans have found hope again with Michael Penix Jr. now being the starting quarterback. So while Falcons have found hope in Penix, the Commanders have found an excitement that has been electric with Jayden Daniels. You know the history of the Washington quarterbacks: Joe Theismann, Mark Rypien, Doug Williams. Those quarterbacks were phenomenal in their own special way. We saw the rookie year with Robert Griffin III. That was a great rookie campaign for him. Kirk Cousins. Kirk had his flashes with Washington. But, man, Jayden Daniels, Commanders fans have been electric all season long. And this game is going to be electric when you get these two quarterbacks going up against one another. Michael Penix Jr., Jayden Daniels. The Atlanta Falcons versus the Washington Commanders. My game of the week. All right, before we get on out of here, I'd like to give you my picks on who I think will win Week 17's most important games. The Seattle Seahawks versus the Chicago Bears. I like Seattle to win. The Denver Broncos versus the Cincinnati Bengals. I like Cincinnati to win. The Dallas Cowboys take on the Philadelphia Eagles. I like Philadelphia to win. The Green Bay Packers versus the Minnesota Vikings. I like Minnesota to win. Sunday Night Football, the Atlanta Falcons versus the Washington Commanders. I like Washington to win. Monday Night Football, the Detroit Lions versus the San Francisco 49ers. I like Detroit to win. So again, my picks are Seattle, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Minnesota, Washington, and Detroit. And that's it. And that's going to do it for another exciting edition of the program. And again, on behalf of, from my family to yours, I'd like to wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Enjoy the games. Talk to you soon. Have a great one.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe, and thank you for watching.